Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago, LAT, is urging members of the public to refrain from making personal attacks against Court of Appeal judges following the court's recent ruling in the Hadeed case. All of a sudden, now you all want to censor people to just like Queen Cams, Tyrant Cams, and Roger Alexander and crew. The ruling delivered last week overturned a High Court order that had directed the release of businessman Dominic Hadeed and his wife Genevieve from preventive detention into house arrest. But that's not the ending there. That would have been good news. The Court of Appeal instead stayed that order. After overturning it, they stayed it, pending the state's appeal to the Privy Council, leaving the couple in detention while the legal challenge continues. That's how I'll show you there. So they said, okay, so because you all appealed, I'm going to overlook the discrepancies in the intelligence that I already condemned, I already criticized. I'm going to forget all that. And because the state appealed and it's going to the Privy Council now, the people and them still have to remain in jail. So you basically did the same thing. But that was the same reason why the lower court judge did it. It's because he knew very well the case was going to go further. Most likely that's why. In a media release on Monday, because he did say pending the outcome of other cases. But I don't agree with any of it anyhow you take it. In a media release on Monday, the association said while public discussion and criticism of judicial decisions are legitimate in a democratic society, such commentary should remain respectful and should not include unfounded allegations that question the integrity or independence of the judiciary. So then you always songing just like Tyrant Cams now. What unfounded allegations? Everybody is just questioning what is going on with these judges. You're saying one thing and you're doing another. The association said the Supreme Court, comprising the High Court and the Court of Appeal, is responsible for resolving disputes, including those involving personal liberty, and that the ongoing proceedings demonstrate that constitutional safeguards continue to operate during the state of emergency. No! That is not what is happening. You know what should have happened? The case going to the Privy Council, right? You made your ruling. Set the people and them free. It should have never been that you put them under house arrest in the first place. Set the people free. Pending now, sending it to the Privy Council, and then the Privy Council will have decided whether to rule in favor of the state or the people. You understand? Because you already made your ruling that they should be set free. Well, you said, I'm never correct that way. You said that they should be placed under house arrest. So you should have placed them under house arrest, right? In my opinion, they should have set them free. But you placed them under house arrest. That is what you should have said. You should have said, listen, go ahead and appeal to the Privy Council, but our ruling stands. You're upholding our ruling. Put them under house arrest. You want to talk about resources? Find the resources. Get it done. You are the judges. The state would have had to comply, but you decided not to do that. LAT said the Constitution allows for emergency measures in prescribed circumstances while preserving judicial oversight to determine whether the measures are lawful, proportionate, and reasonably justifiable. That's the problem. Listen to the commentary of the judges, no man. We are talking about justifiable. The association acknowledged that court decisions, particularly those involving constitutional rights and personal liberty, often attract intense public scrutiny, and said members of the public have the right to question and critically analyze judicial rulings. After saying all that, however, it warned that commentary attacking the integrity of the courts or ignoring the legal and evidential basis for decisions risk undermining the public confidence in the administration of justice. That's the problem. Even the judges had problems with the evidence that was presented by the state. Let's go and read the statements made by the judges. So what you're really talking about? What are you really talking about? The association said it has full confidence in the independence and impartiality of the judiciary. They might be right about the independence, and impartiality, It's about the competence. That is what I am wondering. And urged attorneys to advise their clients to exercise their right to comment on the decision respectfully and avoid statements that undermine confidence in the administration of justice. Nobody has any sort of confidence in the justice system in Trinidad and Tobago, my dear LAT. You see, lawyers are liars. That is the most famous saying when it pertains to lawyers. Lawyers are liars. My response, well, online response. All of a sudden, it's wrong to criticize judges who work for we the people of TNT. Personal attacks, what attacks you're talking about, Lat? So now we don't only have a dictator as prime minister with her right-hand man, Roger Alexander, by her side, but Lat wants to silence citizens as well. Ask your precious judges if they have any common sense left in their brains. That is what you need to ask them, common sense. All you all seem to have is book sense, but it seems as though you all don't have any common sense. Just appears to be so, eh? How on earth could they decide to rule that the Hadeeds must stay in prison, even though the state intelligence lacked any credible evidence to verify their claims? They should all apologize to the lower court judge for criticizing him, because these geniuses also decided to leave the Hadeeds behind bars. That's the same thing the lower court judge decided, pending the investigation and pending the rulings in the other cases. So what all they criticize the man for? Apologize to all their colleagues. That's what you all should do. Public. Now, people who want to say, oh, where I get my information from, and you're lying on the judges. Okay, then. Well, tell the media, the mainstream media, that where I got my information from. Eh? Public. Factual information, my dear Lat. The Court of Appeal's first panel explicitly stated that Justice Frank C. Prasad applied the wrong approach by accepting the Homeland Security Minister's claims too readily without proper statutory verification. What did you all do? Did you all verify Roger Alexander's claims? Didn't your own statements also show concern about the evidence provided by the state? Well, that's the same thing the lower court judge did. Yet they criticize him here. Listen to it again. By accepting the Homeland Security Minister's claims too readily without proper statutory verification. Did you verify the minister's claims, my dear Court of Appeal judges? They criticized their colleague and yet ended up making the same ruling after the state appealed. Does that make sense? Can you all in Lat tell me how on earth that makes sense? You criticized the ruling of the lower court judge. You criticized even the information provided by the state. Still ended up overturning your own ruling. The reason, listen to it, people. Listen to it. The UNC fanatics are outside there right now. Listen to this carefully. The reason why they said that the people should have been placed on house arrest outside was because they criticized the intelligence that was provided by the state. Not so? That not so? And that is what I had an issue with in the first place. It was because they had issues with the intelligence that was provided that the Hadeeds should have been released completely, not under any house arrest. But the judges already decided, okay, they were going to put them under house arrest. You come and overturn that now, which means that you ended up making the same decision as the lower court judge. Apologize to the man. That's what you all need to do. Why did they choose to place the Hadeeds under house arrest in the first place if there was insufficient evidence to verify the state's claim? That is what I would like Lat and these judges to answer. Give us the answer to that question, Lat. We the people must trust judges who contradict themselves because that is how it appears. Now they might come and give some kind of explanation that, oh, they went and reviewed the information from the state and people are taking our statements out of context. Okay. People saying how the official statement hasn't been released from the judges yet. So we're gonna hear some kind of excuse as to why, even though they criticized, they still had to do this and still had to do that. All right, so we will see. I went on to say though, will the Lat and judges of TNT pay the Hadeeds the millions of dollars they will receive as compensation after they win their lawsuits in the future? Most likely, I'm 99% sure that they're going to win their lawsuits in the future. So I would like to know, after all is said and done, and the final ruling is made in the future, probably 10 years from now, what is Lat and what are these judges going to do? When they hear the final ruling state that these people were wrongfully imprisoned, maliciously, well, we haven't even heard any prosecution right now, so I don't leave out the prosecution part, because they haven't even been charged, but wrongfully imprisoned. I would like to know, right? I would lodge false imprisonment. False imprisonment. That's the correct term. False imprisonment. I would like to know if these judges and members of LAT, they're good money, you know, lawyers and judges, or they make it nice pay. Will you all take it upon yourselves to come up and put up money together to compensate the Hadeeds in the future instead of taxpayers having to do so on their own? Having to take it out to the treasury? Tell us now. Would you do that? If you're doing that, fine. Or fine. That'll be wonderful.
Trinidad and Tobago weather report for Tuesday, July 21, 2026. On Tuesday, July 21, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago will experience mostly cloudy, sunny, hazy and breezy daytime conditions, featuring a maximum temperature of 28 degrees Celsius and a minimum temperature of 24 degrees Celsius. The day will stay warm with peak feels-like temperatures reaching up to 32 degrees Celsius around midday. A mild chance of rain persists throughout the day, peaking at 25% with localized light rain potential early in the morning and during the early afternoon hours. Winds will remain steady from the east at around 5 to 8 miles per hour. Humidity ranges from 71% during daytime peak heat up to 91% in the early morning. The UV index reaches a moderate peak of 5 at midday, requiring standard sun protection if outdoors. Saharan dust may present mild haze, so sensitive individuals should track air quality parameters.
Regional news now. Vinci Mas 2026 has reportedly contributed to an increase in tourism arrivals, according to Minister of Tourism Dr. Kishore Shaloo. Speaking with SVG TV News on the sidelines of the launch of the Zero Hunger Trust Fund's EU CAN project, Dr. Shaloo expressed satisfaction with the hosting of the country's premier festival, which concluded last week. The tourism minister, however, said authorities are still analyzing data from the carnival period to determine the full impact of Vinci Mas 2026. That is all part of their tourism, of course. While expressing satisfaction with this year's festival, Minister Shaloo noted that there are still some challenges that will need to be addressed. Of course, what I would like to suggest as well, not everybody are partiers, as we will say here in Trinidad and Tobago. Not everybody like to go party and fete and so forth and carnival. So what you need to do is continue to focus on your other festivals. You know, like I think it's the fishing festival or something like that, and the boating and the sailboat festival or something like that, right? Can't remember the correct terms, so okay. But nevertheless, right? I think it's the sailing festival. You all need to focus on expanding those as well. Because individuals like myself, I used to go carnival when I was younger. I don't really business much about carnival again, right? So I haven't gone carnival in years. But I would like to go and visit St. Vincent and the Grenadines when it has these other festivals. I think it had a culinary one recently as well, a food festival or something. So, right? You need to focus a lot more and promote those even more. Make it even more, make the world, the entire population, world population even more aware about these particular types of festivals for individuals who are not really interested in carnival. So you'll be generating revenue all wrong. That's all I'm saying.
We're quite pleased with what we saw. We haven't really gotten the stats yet, which we're waiting on. And the statistic would inform, obviously, how well we did. But, you know, on the surface, we believe that, you know, it was one of the biggest carnivals in a long time. Certainly based on the fact that hotels were booked out, the events were sold out, especially those private events. So overall, I would say we are pleased. I think that there's still some opportunities for improvement in terms of the traditional events, the CDC events, and so that is something that we're going to try and improve on, because while we appreciate the fact that the private events have been growing over the years and doing really well and attracting our foreigners to St. Vincent and the Grenadines for Vinci Mas, we also want our traditional events to continue to play a critical part in the festival. So we're going to improve on that, but overall we are quite pleased.
Okay. International news now. Trump says Iran will pay many times over every time it kills American soldiers. U.S. President Trump warned Iran of disproportionate retaliation for killing U.S. soldiers after Iranian missiles and drone attacks had killed 3 soldiers in the past few days. Every time Iran kills an American soldier, they will pay for that killing many times over, This directive has been passed on to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Daniel Kane, and every leader in the military. From what I heard, though, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I heard, these individuals that died were not in active combat. They weren't part of the war that were attacking Iran. I think they were in some base, I think, in Jordan or something like that, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if these particular individuals you're talking about there is probably another set of casualties. But last I heard, the Iranians, as they always do, is attack American bases in various other Arab states, and then Americans die. And they are not in, as I said, they are not in active combat. Even ways that while the American soldiers, officers are firing and attacking Iran, and they end up dying. I don't think Trump might say something like that. And then who knows? With Trump, you can never know for sure. But still, in these cases, these individuals were not in active combat. They were not actually attacking Iran or anything like that, right? So that is why Trump is making this type of statement. I am assuming. I could be wrong though, but from what I read recently, and I have viewers from America. And you can tell me if I'm right or wrong about this. But I do believe these individuals he was talking about, they were not any sort of individuals who were attacking Israel that died while in combat. I don't believe so. And remember, there's no boots on the ground in Iran just yet. So basically, it is strikes. They are air strikes. They are strikes. They are striking Israel, not Israel, Iran. So if it is a military officer dies while doing that, well, then it is sad, but that is during combat. But when it is you're striking bases, people that are not even expecting to be attacked, and they die, I mean, that is totally wrong. That is totally wrong what Iran is doing. What we all know is radical jihadists at the end of the day. These people don't care, and they don't care if Trump continues to attack them with full force, because in their minds, they believe it is their duty to defeat the infidels in the world, and therefore they will continue to fight against Israel and America, people, no matter what. No matter if the entire country is destroyed, whoever survives will still try to be able to defeat their so-called infidel enemies in order to usher in the coming of their Messiah. That is what is taking place. IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir affirmed that Israel is ready for a potential renewed flare-up of fighting with the Iranian regime after Iran strikes against U.S. targets across the region for the first time, caused missile debris to fall in Israeli territory on Sunday. So you see what's going on there? It's reaching close to home now. Telling you that even Trump will be able to stop Israel this time. We are closely monitoring developments in Iran and maintaining a high level of readiness. We monitored yesterday's launch toward the Aqaba area, and our aerial defense array remains on alert to protect Israeli civilians, Zamir declared. We are prepared to immediately resume combat and will act with great determination against anyone who harms us, he told senior officers while touring the Judea and Samaria division. And rightfully so, because it seems as though Iran testing the waters right now. The next time, they might actually not, they may not attack Israel's neighbors, They might attack Israel. Early on Sunday, Israel launched interceptor missiles at fragments caused by the interception of Iranian missiles targeting a U.S. base in Jordanian territory. The Jordanian military said it intercepted 3 of the missiles, which appeared to be headed toward the area of Aqaba, a city located adjacent to Eilat on the Jordanian side of the border. Another missile fell in a remote region, and the attack concluded without casualties or damage, the military said.
Bible quote of the day. Psalm 8, 3-5. The glory of creation and God's care for humanity. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them, human beings that you care for them? You have made them a little lower than the angels and crowned them with glory and honor.
When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them?
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe, most of all, in Jesus' name.